Boa tarde, Pedro.
Boa tarde.
My Portuguese is bad. Welcome back to our podcast, episode number 11 or 12, if I'm not wrong. We are with Pedro. Pedro, he is the owner of Alba Distilleria. We are in Brazil today. We are in Monte Belo do Sul. And he's a distiller. He was just talking to me, telling me he's not just doing sugarcane, but before talking about his product, what he's doing, please, Pedro, tell us quickly about you, your background. I know also I saw you started the distilling recently in January 2022. So can you maybe tell us what's your background and how did you end up distilling rum?
Okay.
Sorry, cachaça.
Rum is fine. You will understand that actually we don't do cachaça. We make rum, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
But let me introduce first. So thank you, Renato, for the invitation. Very happy to be on your podcast. I see you're doing such a great work. If we have noises in the background, I'm speaking from the distillery, so it's a very alive environment of machines, and we are pumping water into the water bath because we use a small still. It's a water bath still. So by the end of distillation, it gets very hot, so we need to pump more water to make sure it doesn't damage the still. Anyway, I come from a background of psychology.
Okay.
I'm a psychologist. Yeah. So I have a degree in psychology, and I worked as a psychologist for many years. I also have a master's degree in philosophy. So also worked in the field of research of Renaissance philosophy and translation from Latin to Portuguese.
Okay.
So I come from this background. My wife, Rosana Cavaleri, she's the co-owner of the distillery. She comes from background of medicine and art history. So we come from very different backgrounds, and especially my hobby was distilled spirits and distillation. So that was a big passion for many years, and certainly my hobby. So I used to study and visit distilleries and read books about distilling. And so it was first a hobby. In 2020, we began the project of the Alba Distillery, and we actually built our distillery building in 2021 and begin distilling in late 21, and our first harvest was 22. So very new project. Only two harvests, 22 and 23, and now we're on the third, which is 24. And since we began selling our products, I stopped working as a psychologist because even financially, it was better than working patients. And then we completely switched to having the distillery as our only business. So we moved to the countryside, and we live where the distillery is located, Monte Belo do Sul. And that's it. For the last 3 years, we've been in the rural area, just working full time.
Maybe can you tell me why? So exactly where you are, because Montebello do Sul, it's on the south. And can you maybe tell me about the region and why you are not just doing rum, you're also doing other products? How did you start doing?
Sure. We are in the south of Brazil, in a very small town of 2,500 people, so very small.
Yeah.
Mostly, I would say 95% are Italian immigrants.
Okay.
So these are Italian families that came in around 1875, so very long time ago, and most of them they kept very Italian influenced. So it's a region. It's the wine country of Brazil. So where we have the most wineries in Brazil. So in our area, I would say we have at least 200 wineries in a very small area, or
Okay.
maybe 100 kilometers. You have more than 200 wineries. So it's the really big thing where we are. It's wine.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because I'm just looking at the map here, and I see, of course, the biggest city close by is Porto Alegre, and I see it's
yeah,
like in the same latitude of Argentina, and also just north of Uruguay. So it's also where wine is made. So it's already a good
yeah,
latitude
yeah.
to for
It's
grapes.
we are Rio Grande do Sul, the state we are. It's border with Uruguay and Argentina. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a common thing to us to go to these countries. When I say close, it's not so close for especially for European mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like 12 hours drive.
Okay.
That's close because Brazil is
It's huge.
huge,
Yeah.
giant country. So if you drive 10 hours, it's still considered close. So we're in a wine region. So when we began developing the distillery, we had two things in mind: to work with cane, because that's my biggest passion, and to work with grapes as well, because we are in the wine country. And I truly believe some of the best spirits in the world are made from grapes, like cognac and armagnac. So it was an idea from the beginning to work with these two raw materials, uh, sugarcane and grapes. This way we can also work year round. We can do grapes during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can do from autumn, winter, and spring. We can do sugarcane. And in between, of course, I'm also a big fan of fruit spirits, especially like fruit eau de vie, like clear spirits made from fruits. So we also began making apple eau de vie, pear eau de vie, peach, plum eau de vie. So these are all very small
Mm-hmm.
batches of fruit, and that's something it's being done in Brazil for the first time. Like nobody does it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does fruit spirits. And uh, another thing about our distillery, we do 100% natural fermentation,
Mm-hmm.
all long fermentation with natural yeast. So, uh, so for the wine spirits, when we work with grapes, there's actually a lot of affinity with natural wine producers. So that's one thing. We have this with this community, but also this market of natural wines. And working with fruit, with natural fermentation, uh, we do something very different from what is done in Germany and Austria and in Switzerland, because in Europe they're very controlled, very yeast-driven, clean spirits, and we make fruit spirits like Jamaicans make rum.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
very long
Mm-hmm.
fermentation. By the end of fermentation, you get a lot of bacteria and fungus uh, because of it being too long. So it develops secondary and tertiary
Mm-hmm.
flavors.
Okay.
So when we present this fruit spirits in Europe, we always get this reaction that wow, that's very different from schnapps
Mm-hmm.
or eau de vie in general. So we realize we're also doing something different with the fruit, uh, because we're mixing so many methods of production. Uh, so we're like rum making with fruit, and we are rum making with wine methodology. So we have all this cross reference, which in the end we have very different products.
So we can say that your fruit spirits are high ester ones. Can we say that?
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely say that. We
Mm-hmm.
get we get a lot of this. Wow, this is very funky peach eau de vie. So it's not that because we do very clean distillation, but we do very long fermentation. So uh, very funky and like high ester fermentation. So the answer why not cachaça? I'll just point some things so you will notice it's very different.
So please, first thing, what is exactly cachaça? So I read about cachaça. I know that it has to be made in Brazil. It has to be made with the juices of the sugarcane. But yes, that's basically what I know. Can you maybe
Okay.
tell us what
Yeah,
exact?
yeah.
Yeah, and also the
Yeah.
origins of the name, because I live in Colombia, and on the south, Colombia also has a small part of the Amazons, and there are also something which is produced, which is also called cachaça. So maybe do you know the origins of the name? Why cachaça and not another name?
Okay. The origins of the name are very speculative. You hear a lot of different things. So I really don't know an exact answer for that. But the parameters of production are very straightforward. So it's a distilled spirit from sugarcane juice. Okay, uh, most of it only one distillation.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see double distillation. There are some distilleries who do double distillation, but the tradition is just one single distillation. Usually 24-hour fermentation, uh, or selected yeast, or what they call a local fermentation, which is called caipira, which
Mm-hmm.
something like country fermentation. They would start the fermentation with corn flour.
Okay.
So it's yeast driven, uh, but corn influenced, uh, and it can be bottled from 38 ABV to 48, not higher than 48.
Okay.
So 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 if you get this idea, sugarcane juice, usually 24-hour fermentation, one distillation, and up to 48.
Okay.
So we also work with cane juice, so that's the only thing that's similar. We do wild fermentation only, so fermentations from 30 days to 90 days, so very different from 24 hours. We always double distill it,
Mm-hmm.
so also different from cachaça, and we always bottle at least at 54%.
Okay. Yeah.
So also not cachaça.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, you get very different profile. So whenever people try our rums abroad, they would say something in between rum agricole and Jamaican rum, because it's still very elegant like Martinique, but it's always out there, not as high ester as Jamaica, but you get a lot of influence from long fermentations.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say other a very important characteristic with cachaça is that a lot of producers use different woods other than oak.
Mm-hmm.
So you get amburana, which is like a different wood, not oak, and balsamo, which is also a very herbal wood. So that's very traditional here as well. We don't use those those barrels.
Okay.
We only age in oak.
Okay, yeah, this was also a question I had about cachaça, because I saw some cachaças here again in Colombia. It's difficult to find, but anyway, I know that cachaça normally is aged in different types, wood types, which are only available
Yeah.
in Brazil. And this is also a requirement for cachaça, or no?
Not a requirement.
Okay.
It's just tradition,
Mm-hmm.
because I would say a long time ago it was very hard to get like French oak or American oak. So it's easier to work with local wood.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Just it
Mm-hmm.
was practical. So, but with everything, it starts practical, and then with time, it becomes a tradition and a signature. So even with bourbon barrels, I would say I don't have the correct information, but maybe 10 years from now only, that bourbon barrels are something that are more accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's still very new. You don't have like long aging in bourbon barrels because it wasn't. So we had French oak because of wineries. Wineries were buying French oak
Yeah.
directly from
Mm-hmm.
France, and then we use in wine. But most producers would get very old barrels. So I would say from the last 10 years, barrel wise, things are changing a lot here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we only use American oak and French oak. The French oak always coming from wineries. We have close relationship, and the bourbon barrels we just import them.
Mm-hmm. It's also the bourbon barrels, the ones are easier to access, I guess. So
Yeah, they have good price. They are good for long aging because we only get first fill bourbon barrels, so they were used only once with bourbon.
mm-hmm.
So you still have good extraction from the barrel, but it's not enough to ruin the rum, so you can leave it there for 10, 15, 20 years. It will be good.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't released anything aged yet because we're only on the market for 1 year and a half, I would say, selling things. So but we have barrels aging.
Okay.
It's one of the projects, of course, to have long aging.
Okay, so the first one you're gonna release, how old will it be? 3 years or maybe a bit younger?
I would say 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to only do single barrels, so
Yeah.
they will be very small batches. So the idea is to have a 3 year, then maybe 5 year, and just keep evolving like that, 8 year, 10, until we have enough stock to. The idea is to have longer aged spirits.
Yeah,
So
and imagine also at the beginning you have to finance yourself, so you need to sell the unaged products to finance what is aging. I mean, this is money
yeah,
which
yeah.
is
From
sleeping, and
from the beginning, we knew that. So we thought about different products. So we have the like white rum. So we actually try to do something special with these rums. So they are not only a entry product, but of course they are faster to sell. They are ready faster, but still we were very worried to have something special. So they are all single variety rums. So so far we released three different types of cane:
mm-hmm. Yeah.
white cane, purple cane, and red cane. And not only single variety, but they come from different fields. So this for us this is something very important, because even in the wine world you hear a lot of talk about terroir,
Mm-hmm.
about
Yep.
where
Mm-hmm.
the raw material come from. I would say that in France they go as far as sometimes not even telling you what the grape is, but they are very worried it's a blend of grapes
Mm-hmm.
from this very specific soil. So what they're actually selling you is raw material from this specific soil.
Mm-hmm.
So we began to do that with the white rum. So it's just not a generic white rum, but it's something special to us. So we have these three rums. So they are single variety and from different lands. So let's say the white cane comes from a very rocky soil,
Okay.
because it's a cane field just by the river in between vineyards. So you get a lot of granite and rocks. So you get a lot of minerality in
Mm-hmm.
this rum.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get the purple cane comes from a flat land with a lot of mud and very earthy. So you get this you get a lot of this quality of tomato sauce and
Okay.
mushrooms.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's for us it's very interesting. So we are building the white rums this way, and even the aged rums, they're also built this way. They're single variety from different plots going into different barrels.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not only single barrels, but they are very specific. So we want to make sure that things don't repeat quite
Yeah.
often.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the ideas of small production, but very with a specific identity.
Exactly. This is also the advantage when you're smaller. You can do that. When you're bigger than one,
Yeah.
it's difficult
Yeah.
because, of course, I was yeah. You see, sorry, it's interesting you're talking about the terroir because it's something that it's growing in the rum industry. I went to visit in Grenada, Renegade Distillery. They are really, really driven, terroir driven, and it's impressive to see the same cane and in two different spots how different the flavors are, and this is something that it's growing in the rum industry, especially the unaged rum, and I think especially the agricole rum, so the sugarcane juice rum is where you can find more these nuances, these different flavors profile, and it's really interesting that you are doing that. And yeah, about I have also a question about I saw an article about a gentleman who is talking with Felipe Iannuzzi. He has a website which is called La Mappa
Yeah.
da Cachaça, and he made an
Yeah.
article about you. And also in his website, he's talking about how important the terroir is, and he's also talking about in Paraty. I think Paraty, it's, if I'm not wrong, it's not that far. Well, Brazil is big, but it's
Yeah.
in the middle of Brazil, more or less, if I'm not wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Paraty is in the state of Rio de Janeiro. So I think it's it's still close, but it's just two different
mhm.
climate, just
Exactly.
very different.
Exactly. And here they were talking about la dominação de origem. They are talking about
Yeah.
DOC. Do you think about this? It's something that is growing in Brazil, and it's also something that may protect rum, Brazilian rum or Brazilian cachaça abroad for exportation in Europe, for example, or in the United States. What do you think about this kind of?
No, nice. First, Felipe Januzzi, it's a very important writer here in Brazil. I would say, of course, he's not the first one to do it, but maybe the one who did it for longest period of time, trying to write and speak about terroir in cachaça or sugarcane spirits, because most people here in Brazil, most people, they will say this is just bullshit.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That no, once you ferment the cane and you distill it, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so Felipe Januzzi, he would write articles that he would tell me later. People were thinking he was writing like a science fiction uh, articles because he was dreaming this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So there was some first distilleries doing single variety cachaça, and also putting on the bottle the year of harvest. So that was very uncommon. Uh, we had maybe just like one or two distilleries doing that. So it's nobody does it, and then we began doing that very specifically. So he came to visit us, and we did some works together. So it's very important, and this website is a reference for cachaça in Brazil. So very important website. And the thing about Paraty, I believe I might get this wrong, but I believe it was the first place to get the denominação de origem, DO.
Yes, in the article he
It's
claims it's the first.
it's
Yeah,
first, right?
yeah.
I believe there was at least two other places with kind of geographic denomination, which is some in Bahia, which I don't remember, and then the other one in Minas Gerais, which
Mm-hmm.
is a state very popular for cachaça.
Yeah.
But anyways, in Paraty you only have 3 distilleries, if I'm not wrong, and so it's very small, and it's a very specific way of producing with cane very close to the ocean. So you have this specific qualities. So I think this will protect a lot of traditional cachaça making, which I think it's fine. I do totally the opposite, but I really think it's important because otherwise you would lose a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
techniques
Yeah.
and a lot of the old ways of doing it. And so I think it's important. But I think cachaça, there's a big market abroad, but I would say there are different markets. There is the rum market, especially the rum market for geeks or
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the Renegade
Mm-hmm.
Distillery
Yeah.
in Granada, it's very geeky. And then I saw on your Instagram that you visit
Mm-hmm.
Foursquare and maybe Guadeloupe, maybe, I don't know.
No, I didn't go
Or
to Guadeloupe. No, it's
okay, but I saw Renegade, and you went to Rivers Antoine, and
exactly yes.
so all these distilleries. Usually, people who like these spirits, they won't like regular cachaça because it's either or ABV too low, and no signs of longer fermentation or more flavor. So they're just two separate markets. You get a lot of export of cachaça, but it goes to a more normal people
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
markets, I would say.
Can we say that this is maybe more a cachaça for caipirinhas, for cocktail, this kind of thing, like
Yeah,
Bacardi, if I can
sure,
say, like.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Like Bacardi, it's like same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Havana Club, like
Mm-hmm.
Bacardi. It's it's for cocktails. It's cheap. It's good. It's cheap. Uh, but then the rum world, as we are seeing it happen right now, I think it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have a lot of distilleries that are beginning to understand this mentality. So we do have very good cachaça distilleries going abroad. Especially you have Magnifica from Rio. They understand the rum business, and they are exporting, and they make very good cachaça. So that it's something in between, you know. People who like cachaça will like it, and people who like rum will also like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, just to finish answering your question, I think it's important this denominations because you have something very specific, and it helps protecting. But we like I said, we just do most things the opposite
Mm-hmm.
of what's done in the country. So
So you were saying that for doing cachaça, just I have always this doubt about the distillation and double distillation. So you said cachaça doesn't have to be double distilled, so which means because I know that normally you always do the first distillation is a stripping run where you are extracting the water, and I also did my experiment with I bought a small pot still in Switzerland. I took it here to Colombia, and I was having fun with my small pot still, and I was always doing a double distillation because the first distillation, let's say I have my wash at say at 10% less, say 7 to 10%. I make the first distillation. I only get a spirit at 40 ABV. So this would be the first distillation. So how can you get to a cachaça at 48% with just one distillation? Can you help me to clarify this?
no, you can do it. If you have your wash, like when you press your cane, and it's something like 15 bricks.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you have a wash that it's something like 8-9% alcohol. So if you do one single distillation, you can have a final product of around 50,
Okay.
48, 50, 52, something like this. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So here, to me, here you have two things. When you do one single distillation, of course it can be very good because that's how they make Clarin
Mm-hmm.
in Haiti, which I think it's really good. That's how they make Pisco in Peru. It's
Okay.
just one distillation.
Okay.
But I prefer double distillation because when you do the stripping run, if you really go down to 10% alcohol, you strip all of the natural oils of the raw material. So what they call rum oil, it's
Mm-hmm.
just very thick and tasty oils. You only get if you go to the end of stripping run. So whenever you do the spirit run, where your second distillation, where you're actually going to make the you have a lot more concentration of cane because you have to make like 4 stripping runs to then make a second distillation, and so you have a lot of more you have a lot of cane character and a lot of oils. So in the second cooking on the second distillation, you also have esterification because
Mm-hmm.
you have acids, you have alcohol, and you have oxygen. So that's really when I think when this beautiful flavors are created doing second distillation. So it, in my opinion, it makes no sense to make double distillation if you're fermenting in 24 hours, because
Okay.
why
Yeah.
would you
Mm-hmm.
waste so
Mm-hmm.
much time
Yeah.
if you're not extracting a lot of flavor that comes from fermentation?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense to have very very long fermentations and then do double distillation in order to concentrate all
Mm-hmm.
that. But if you're making a very clean the first distillation, why would you maybe the only answer is to raise the ABV up, so you can you can put them into barrel with a higher ABV, and you have a better aging. So if you put something in the barrel at 45 or 48, like cachaça, you will never get the extraction you get from double distilled spirits. Never, never. Uh, so and then maybe someone would argue maybe that Armagnac is only one distillation, right? And we have beautiful Armagnac that it's like 40 years old, but that's a totally different thing. It's a just you don't have if someone does this with cachaça, maybe it would be amazing. 30 years in oak,
Mm-hmm.
just one single distillation, then no need to use water for reduction or dilution. In the end, you would just bottle straight off the barrel. But that mentality you don't get in the cachaça
Mm-hmm.
industry, because that's the mentality of very small Armagnac producer
Yeah.
who makes like 5 to 6 barrels a year. So it's
Yeah. It's not
uh,
their. It's not their market. I mean, they don't have to interest
yeah,
in doing it.
yeah.
And just to come back to your process, so I see here I have a nice picture of your distillery. I also see on Instagram that you are, first of all, of course, the fermentation process. I see you do something which is similar to the wine or the grappa industry or brandies. You leave the sugar cane fermenting with the juice. Why is that?
Okay. So we have different ways of fermenting cane. The first one is just pressing the cane and then fermenting the juice in we use closed fermenters, so they are stainless steel fermenters.
Okay.
We just press the cane and we put the juice and let it ferment for as long as it takes. So being a very small producer, as you said, we have this advantage. uh, we work in a very philosophical way. So we are waiting for the raw material to do its thing. We're just trying to make it easier for it to transform itself. So in this way, I'm also acting as a psychologist, because I'm trying to let it speak, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's the,
Interesting.
and so no pressure. Just do what you have to do so we can get to know each other. Uh, so I think it's a very collaborative thing. Uh, then one thing we began doing, because when we work with grapes, it's common to press the grapes to extract the juice, and then you use some of the leftovers of the grapes, the pomace of the grapes, which are skins and residual pulp and seeds. You let it ferment with the juice
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of days, and then you take it out and you just have the wine. But this pomace will give tannins, it will give color, it will give you flavor, it will extract different nuances from the grape. So we began doing the same with the cane. So We press the juice, and then this pressed cane, just fibers of the cane, we put it back, the fibers in the tanks. So we have something like a whole cane fermentation. It's juice
Mm-hmm.
and fibers, and the idea is the same idea we do with the grapes. We want to extract tannin, and we want to extract the flavor of the fibers, so it will give you a different feeling in the
Mm-hmm.
mouth once you drink the rum. And that will give you structure as well. It will give you tannin and structure for long aging. So so some people would visit us, and they would ask me why nobody does that, because it's just a ridiculous amount of work.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have to press the cane, and then you put the fibers inside the tank, and then you leave it for some like 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then you remove the fibers, and then we press back the fibers to extract this fermented juice, and
Mm-hmm.
then we put it back in the tank. So it's a long process, and then we get these fibers, and we don't throw them out. We just uh, when we finish distillation, we collect the leftover in the pot still, and we let it sit outside in different tanks, and we put the fibers in it, and it's very flavor. It develops this very fruity and estery aroma,
So
and
sorry,
we
you are boiling the juice with the fiber.
yeah, this is after distillation. No, we're not boiling with the fibers. We take the fibers out of the tanks, so it's finished fermentation,
Mm-hmm.
just the liquid.
Okay.
And then these fibers that we removed from the tank after fermentation, we put them in different tanks with what's left over in the pot still after distillation. So you have this, what Jamaicans call
Uh-huh.
dunder.
Yeah.
We called vinhoto,
Okay.
which is just a name.
Mm-hmm.
So we collect this, and we put these fibers inside the dunder. So it creates a very different
Okay. Yeah.
atmosphere of,
Mm-hmm.
of bacteria. And for us here, it's very different from Jamaica. It develops this pear aroma, very fruity. And so we use some of that when we do the second distillation. So
Okay.
when we fill the pot still with low wines, sometimes we would add like 50 liters of this bacterial liquid, which is very fruity,
Mm-hmm.
so it busts a lot of flavor, but still it's all cane, so
Yeah.
it's just cane in different. So we began to do that a lot. Instead of just letting it ferment and distilling, we're trying to build flavors and
Mm-hmm.
trying to, so put some volume. It's like remixing or mastering music.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
put some guitar here, and then you put it, just you put the volume down in the chorus, and then you have this breakdown where you need more drums.
Mm-hmm.
And so we began to do this. Wow, this is very beautiful. We need more volume here, more acidity, and then we began to play with that. And like I said, it takes a lot of time, a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, we don't have much rum, but we are very happy to do that.
Yeah, and it's again, it's when you're small, you can do that. You can play with
Yeah,
music, you can do your
yeah,
experiments, and it's fantastic that you are doing this. Again, I wish I could taste these rums, your rums one day.
yeah. You will soon,
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. I don't know if you are. I saw you were in Berlin, so you are doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to get the European market. I imagine it's one of the most important. What about your future, your plans, exporting?
Yeah, we are doing really well right now in Brazil, because productions it's very small.
Mm-hmm.
So once we release a new bottle, it usually sells out very fast.
Okay.
So yeah, we just released a very small batch. When I say very small batch, this is like 175 bottles of cane syrup rum.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar to rivers where you
Okay.
visit,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
which we basically just boil the cane, and then we dilute the cane syrup back into liquid, the 90 days fermentation, and then we double distill it. So we filled one barrel with this, one bourbon barrel, and we didn't have too much left, so we decided let's just bottle straight at 54%, and it was sold out in maybe 24 hours or 36 hours, just by messaging on Instagram, a story on
Okay.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So we understand it's a very growing in the country, and we sell to a lot of restaurants and bars and wine shops and spirit shops. We are with a lot of star Michelin star restaurants. So so some of the best restaurants in the country, we are in this restaurant. So it's very good market. We're doing something that nobody does. So especially with fruit spirits. So there is a good market. So what is the idea of distributing outside of Brazil? So our main interest with the idea of undiluted spirits, and the highest ABV we can bottle here is 54. You can't go higher than
Okay.
this.
Legally.
So I began legally. You cannot. So I began working with the idea that maybe we should try to send something abroad, so we could release it at 59 or 63%, or have, because I'm a big fan of like bold white rums, or even like cask strength aged rums, beautiful.
Yeah.
We cannot do this here. So last year we were invited for a small fair of natural spirits in Paris. So we did the fair. It was a big success. It's more with the concept of natural wine. So they just gathered some distillers that only work with the raw material. So nothing added to the spirits, no yeast, no enzymes or no acids. Very nice. Just maybe around 15 distilleries from France, from Italy, or from Germany, England, and we were the only ones from South America. So very good reception. So we are working on an exportation for France. Still not 100%. So I won't talk too much about it. And then I just came back from Berlin, where we did a fair a week ago, maybe.
Yep.
It was one of those a very good curator putting together like 35 distilleries, like the best distillers in the world, or something like this. And again, we were the only one from South America, and we are actually, again, we began talking to some people about the possibility of exporting to Germany. So hopefully this will happen. And this is especially exciting for us, so we can send higher ABV rums, and we can think about in 2 years maybe also sending a single cask strength, which is something I'm very interested as well. And we cannot do it here.
Yeah.
So I would say this, and we have already some bottles going to some selected markets in Europe through a independent bottler, which I cannot tell so much,
No worries.
but soon you will see some bottles in Europe, especially with Alba in the.
Okay.
And I
Is
can
this
only tell
a
it's
big
the higher
one?
ABV.
Okay. Is this private independent bottler maybe from Italy?
Oh, I cannot tell, but it's a small project,
Okay,
so it's something new that people don't know.
No, because I know
And
someone in Italy, and he's kind of famous, Luca Gargano, who always finds new products.
yeah.
So maybe,
Yeah.
but yeah, you don't have to tell me. It's going to be a surprise.
We have people asking us about Velier because we are good friends with Capovilla. Who Velier releases some of his stuff, and they have a rum company together, a rum, which is Capovilla and Luca Gargano. So a lot of people think, oh, maybe it's Velier. It's not Velier.
Yeah.
It's something very small. but hopefully Velier someday.
Yeah, who knows?
Hopefully, yeah.
Because I know
So
he's always looking for new things. And cachaça, yeah, I know in Italy, everywhere in the world, I think cachaça. I mean, well, Brazilian rum is something which is growing. People are getting into it. They even in the US, you don't find that much about Brazilian distillates. Yes, you can find maybe some cachaça,
no.
the caipirinha one, but like geek products as yours, I don't think it's. And I think Europe is maybe the first target, the first market you can get into before getting maybe into US. I can imagine.
Yeah, no, that's true. So this first bottling, it's a small project, but it will have some Brazilian distilleries, very interesting one. So I would say maybe by the end of the year, you definitely will hear about this project. It's around maybe 5 Brazilian distilleries,
Okay.
but all of them with things that cannot be released in Brazil because they're all higher ABV or just outside of the box that what people expect.
Yeah.
So what I can tell, we send this fully fermented with the fibers. So we send this one, which is very
Okay.
different from everything you tried, and it's at 63 ABV. So
Okay.
the first thing that it when you try it, it will scream at your mind, not cachaça.
Yeah, when I was in, I was a bit disappointed when I was in Letizia, which is the south of Colombia, and the Amazons. And I was there, and I crossed the border, and I was so happy to buy some cachaça, which I bought. And when I tasted it back to Cartagena, I was like, okay, nothing special. So was maybe the commercial one. Can you just maybe
Yeah.
quickly tell us which are the biggest cachaça producer in Brazil? I think it's in the Minas Gerais region, or
Yeah. Yeah, Minas Gerais for sure. There is some very good stuff. In Minas Gerais, there is the oldest distillery in Brazil. It's called Século XVIII. This is very good. If you can even follow them at Instagram, Século XVIII, like 18th century.
Okay.
Yeah. They show some of the process they work with. Very nice. This like stone fermenters and very old building, water mill, just like rivers. Very nice. And amazing cachaça. Amazing. They bottle at 48 because they used to bottle at higher strength, but because of the legislation, they still want to call it cachaça because they think it's important for the market. So
yeah.
And in Europe, you can I think you can get Magnifica, like Magnific. They are very good, and I think they also send single casks to Europe, which is something different. And with this project, this independent bottler, you will get some very different things.
So let's say if some rum geek, as I am and you are, would travel from Europe or United States to Brazil, where should we go to see? I mean, of course, your products, but say another place.
Yeah, but true. We are very far away from where you would see most things.
Yeah.
So I would say if you would go just one place, go to Minas Gerais,
which is
state of Minas Gerais.
Rio de Janeiro, and then I've been there a long time ago, and we have been to Ouro Preto, which is I don't remember how far. It's not that far, but if you get to Rio de Janeiro, you can visit some distilleries in the area. So it's the best place to go.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the best place. It's where you see very traditional cachaça, not commercial, but very traditional. You will go to a place called the Januária, where you get a lot of the Amburana stuff. The very good Amburana, because they're not barrels, they're just this big, like 10,000 liter barrels. So it's the very old Amburana barrels. So the cachaça is very clear. It's almost white, but but they keep it in those tanks for like 10 years.
Okay.
So they're
Wow.
very tasty. And it's bottled in they bottle in this old beer bottles. So it's the aesthetic is very specific.
Mm-hmm.
This old beer bottles. And the other place is oh my god, where the balsamo cachaça is very famous.
Balsamo.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just remember it's a very famous place. I just yeah, Salinas.
Salinas.
That's the place.
Okay.
Salinas. So Salinas is a very specific cachaça because like every distillery, I wouldn't say they only age, but mostly age in balsam wood.
Okay.
And they are this very big balsam, like 10,000 liters, 50,000 liters, huge balsam tanks.
Okay.
So you got this very herbal cachaça, and they usually let it rest for 10 years. So very good. And you don't get this outside of Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the classic cachaça. So to me, if people ask, like, what would you say is the really classic? That's the classic.
Okay.
The Salinas stuff and the Januária stuff.
The one you have to visit and to taste, at least taste when you're in Brazil.
Yeah, because that's the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
You must try it. Yeah, I'm a big cachaça fan. So sometimes when I talk about what I do, people think I don't like it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not true.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, of course.
It's just that I'm not interested in doing it because there's so many people doing it. And so I wouldn't waste time. So
yeah, and it's, as you said, it's kind of limited because if you can just do up to 48%, you are limited.
Yeah.
So
and I'm very obsessed kind of person. So I have to create all the time. So you can begin to imagine if you begin to understand a little bit how I work. So as we work with fruits as well, so I'm aging like fruit brandies in different barrels. And then of course I'm thinking, wow, in a few years I will just empty this of pear brandy and I'll just fill it with some rum and you have this like fruity pear in the barrel.
Interesting.
And so we can do all this. Yeah, we can do all of that.
Yeah, you're like I always say it's like a chef. You're playing with flavors, you're playing with different type of ingredients, and it's really amazing what you can do also with spirits. Sometimes we think that you're limited, but not. Okay, Pedro, I think I have asked you everything I wanted to ask you. I don't know if I forgot something, if you want to say something to end at the end of the episode, something to wrap it up.
I just want to thank you, Renato.
Thank you.
I think it's great what you're doing. I think that podcasts about rum. Yeah, I think it's very important and very informative. Sometimes I would say for some people the only way to get some knowledge about rum making and different styles of doing it. So I think it's very important. So I'd just like to thank you. If people want to know us better, the only way to reach us is through Instagram, which is Alba Distilleria.
Yes, I will
so
post.
That's the easiest way.
I will post everything about you. I don't know if you have. I was looking for a website. I don't know if you have a website.
No website.
Okay.
We only have the
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
And so far the products are only available in Brazil. I believe by the end of the year we'll have some bottles in selected markets in Europe. We'll let everybody know through the Instagram for sure. And hopefully this year or next year we will have something also in France.
Awesome.
But that's still in the works.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pedro. And
thank you so much.
See you soon, I hope.
Hopefully. Take care.